Okay, take two. My name is Matt Shanson, and this is a video for casting for a documentary on living the rural slash rustic life in Fairbanks, Alaska. I lived in a yurt, which is a structurally reinforced wall tent that is round, that is based on the design of the Central Asian, Turkic, Mongolian nomads that have lived in these for thousands of years. It is not made out of hide. It is actually kind of a plasticized canvas and was built specifically for me by a company called Nomad Shelter in Homer, Alaska. Within this yurt, I had a small wood stove for heat and a small 2,000 watt Honda generator for power. These were really my only creature comforts that I had in the yurt. Previous to owning the yurt, while I was saving up to purchase this, I had actually lived in a 3-season nylon tent without any sort of heat for roughly 10 months on the same site, enduring several nights of well below zero temperatures. I believe a few nights were even got as cold as 40 below in my first winter, and survived. Fingers, toes, ears, no real frostbite with that. And I guess to start off, one of the questions you, Ethan, had would be, what was my scariest experience in the wilderness during this time? And I wish I could say that, you know, I had a couple of grizzly bears out of my yurt, but honestly, bears don't scare me. Bears are fairly predictable creatures. They, you know, provided you don't get between them and their cubs, you're not walking around with a bunch of fish on your neck, they're usually going to leave you alone. But my scariest experience, I believe, happened the first week that I was living in the tent. The bottom had dropped out. It was about 40 below. And within the tent, I had a couple of different sleeping bags, including a very high-end North Face mummy bag that I will say now, North Face, you saved my life. Great products. But anyways, I'll get back to that. But I had bedded down for the night, and in trying to make sure that I was properly insulated and had enough warmth on my head and my body, I had affixed kind of a fleecy face mask over the top of a beaver hat, which in the middle of the night, as I had been moving around in this mummy bag, and for those of you who have not slept in mummy bags before in really cold temperatures, you need to really cinch these things up and basically be in tight. You're really constricted. So if you're a sort of person who moves around in the night, like I was, you will sometimes get a wardrobe malfunction, I guess would be the proper term. This wardrobe malfunction involved where, as I got turned around, the fleece face mask tightened the drawstrings on my beaver hat to the point the whole thing got turned around and tightened. So essentially I was suffocating myself in this. And it's dark, it's really cold, you wake up and you can't breathe, you don't know what the hell's going on. And because all this stuff was bound together, the more I tried to pull it off, the tighter it would get. The drawstring for the face part of my mummy bag was all cinched up inside of this also. So the more I moved around, the harder it was to get off, and thus the more frantic and desperate I became. Well, long story short, I was able to remove everything and get it off, but yeah, that was probably the scariest time that I can really remember, just because, you know, suffocation's not a fun experience, and it was kind of preceded by this getting into my subconscious while I was sleeping, and I was having this crazy drowning dream, only to wake up and basically be inhaling a mouthful of a beaver hat. I guess some of the other questions you had, I guess my greatest strengths when it comes to being in the wilderness, you know, having gone through stuff like that, actually sleeping outside at 40 below, realizing that it's not really the, you know, your mindset that you have, it's the tools that you have around you to stay alive. It's having good books and good gear and having faith that, you know, keeping a positive attitude, and that concept that the Boy Scouts kind of drill into you as a young age, the mind, body, and spirit, that you can't compensate one for the other. You know, you can't just go in thinking, oh, I know everything, and assume that's going to save your ass. You have to have some faith in having good gear and making sure that you know how to use that gear, as well as being able to keep a positive mindset, because if you get down in the dumps and you kind of lose that will to live, you're just going to get further and further down into a darkness that, you know, no matter what you have around you, that it's going to be really hard to get out. And I guess part of that, part of the other skills with that is, you know, being out there and not having everything available to you. So you got to kind of wilderness triage. You got to figure out what you have to work with and make it work. You know, if that means that all of your water is completely frozen, or you know, your fuel jugs are out, you know, finding ways to make that generator work at 30 below, finding ways to get that fire going. You know, it's you know, very much, you know, coming back to, I guess, the positive aspects of like Jack London's story to build a fire. You know, you don't really get into the really deep, dark depresses, because, you know, that character basically freezes to death. But realizing that it's the little steps and the little things that are really going to save your ass. And it's not, don't become overwhelmed. Focus on the things you can control, and work with those. My greatest weaknesses when it comes to this is that I'm not the handiest or most mechanically apt guy in the world. So sometimes, say if my chainsaw would break down or my generator wouldn't work, I didn't always know what the hell to do. But the fact that I realized these were my lifelines to keep me warm, to keep the lights on, to keep my mind together, that you just figure it out. I mean, there's only so many parts of these. You just take stuff apart, you remember where that stuff goes, and you look for stuff out of the ordinary. And usually, if there's something a little funky, that's what's wrong with it. And you know, just kind of working through those situations. Team skills. I realize I don't know everything, and that I'm not the strongest guy in the world. So I don't feel it as a shot to my manhood or my ego to ask others for help or ask for advice on things, which a lot of times runs counterintuitive to the whole rugged, manly individualist that we have on the frontier. But the fact is, that's one of those things that the pioneers often don't talk about, is they try to build up their own personal legend to say, oh yeah, I did all this myself. Honestly, that's bullshit. Nobody gets through life totally on their own. There are no self-made men anymore. We all have some sort of connection to society and the outside world that we have to respect and use. Sometimes if we don't have those questions, it's not a weakness and it's not a failing to go ask somebody else for those questions, because hey, those people learn that from experience. And everything in life is, I guess you can view it as a giant lending library of the soul. Is that everybody out there has had their own experiences, and for good or for bad, those experiences are available to you to learn from, and that you don't have to endure the same bullshit. You don't have to deal with the same mistakes. You can learn that somebody else has made those mistakes and learn from those, and build on those and turn it into a positive. I also tend to be a good consensus builder. I don't feel that always my opinions or my way is the best way, and somehow other people have different ideas, and working together, a lot of times you can come up with an even better concept. I think that's really all I have to say on this as far as coming up with self-interview. I'd love to know any more questions you have, and love to take you guys out to the Yurt and show you this crazy place that I called home for 4 years. Thank you.